Brought to you by JEGS.
Hi, we're going to show you how to install Flex-a-lite's brand new Mustang radiator fan application. This is going to fit the 4th generation, both the 6 and the 8 cylinder. So it'll be 1997 to 2004. You can see the unit is going to come from the factory with the electric fan already pre-mounted to this 2-row 1-inch all aluminum radiator. It's all hand welded, and it comes with a 3,300 cubic feet per minute fan. Like I said, it's already going to be pre-mounted for you. Includes all the bracketry that you'll need to complete your installation, as well as the controller that's going to operate the fan between 160 and 240 degrees, wherever you want to turn the fan on at. First step, it's very important that we're going to disconnect the battery so we don't have electricity running through while we're operating on the vehicle. And then we're going to drain our system. So I'm going to loosen the cap here, and then I'm going to use this 5/16 Allen wrench, and there's a drain valve over on the passenger side of this radiator down below. So once we've drained the system, we can then take off the cap here, as well as our lower radiator hose, and then the upper radiator hose here. Now that I've got the hose off, I want to make sure I don't get any debris in here, so I'll go ahead and put a rag into the end of this hose and then use a zip tie to secure it while we finish the installation. So in order to remove this expansion tank, first I'm going to disconnect the hose here, and then I've got an electrical plug here that's going to come off. Then I've got 3 nuts over here that I can remove, so then I can pull up this expansion tank and get to the lower hose to remove it. So now that I have the expansion tank out of the way, I can get to this lower hose and disconnect it. Now that the expansion tank's out of the way, this vehicle has an automatic transmission, so you can see we've disconnected the transmission lines here, and we've put a flare on the end and attached a rubber hose. Kind of a nice tip here if you want to put an earplug in there and make sure you're not getting anything out during the removal process. That's helpful. The other next step will be to remove this plastic housing here. So in order to get these out, there's a plastic screw that comes in with here, which you're supposed to be able to use a Phillips to unscrew, but typically it's going to break anyway. So you're going to end up with a flat head to get up under it. So then I can get to this one and remove it. Now I can go ahead and remove these bolts. We're not going to be needing them anymore. In order to do that, all I got to do is lift up on the bottom piece here, and it slides right out. Next, I need to remove the electrical plug to the fan, and in order to do that, I'm using this Phillips head screwdriver to go through the housing here to push onto the tab that's going to then connect it. See right here. Now I'm going to remove these 2 top brackets here so I can go ahead and take the fan and radiator combination out. Now I'm going to remove the radiator and fan combination. I'm going to come straight up, and then I'm going to have to angle on the driver's side so I can get past this battery box right here. Here's a side-by-side comparison of what your stock system will have versus the Flex-a-lite combination. So you can see the stock fan radiator is only a single row with an electric fan mounted to it here. And then I've got a transmission cooler, which is just a single tube running in this side tank here, which is why this is a little fatter. Versus the Flex-a-lite radiator, we've added a whole nother row. It's an all aluminum radiator, so it's not this plastic crimped construction. It's all hand welded. Going to come with the 3300 CFM electric fan, and then if you do have the automatic transmission, we have the cooler that is going to be mounted on the outside of your system, so I can get additional passes for the transmission cooling, and I'm not submerging it in the hot water from the side tank. This is Flex-a-lite's new transmission oil cooler kit for the 4th generation Mustang. Fits 1997 to 2004. You can use this cooler with or without our Flex-a-lite radiator fan combination. It's going to come with all of these components to assemble the transmission cooler onto these brackets. So you can see how the gator clip is not going through the core at all in order to mount the cooler. And then the brackets are going to mount up to your stock bolt locations. We have a couple of bolts that are going to extend a little bit further so that we can mount this cooler in there. You want to cut into your transmission cooler oil lines, put a double flare onto it so that we can attach the hose that's included with your kit as well. Before I put the radiator and fan combination in, I'm going to go ahead and put the probe into the radiator. The best location for it's going to be in between two active plates of the core. I'm going to start with a Phillips and push it through to be careful not to tear into the core. Now we're going to mount the bracket to the side tank here. Got a couple of T-bolts that can slide into the channel of our Flex-a-fit system. Then I'm going to line it up flush right about here so I can use this mount point for the radiator. And once I got it positioned properly, I can go ahead and tighten that down. Now we're going to go ahead and drop in the fan radiator combination. You can see that we're going to reuse the stock grommet locations. This radiator is going to be a little easier to get in than the stock one was to get out, but I'm still going to go at it from the passenger side first to slightly angle it down, get it positioned properly. And it fits right in. So for the top brackets on the radiator, I don't need to reuse my stock brackets because my kit will include the mounting brackets we need, but I am going to go ahead and reuse the grommets. You can see I've already pushed one of them into this bracket here. Okay, so the bracket is just going to attach with the grommet up here. See, it slips right into here. And I'm going to reuse my stock bolts to tighten it on. Now we can go ahead and reattach both the lower and the upper radiator hose. Go ahead and take off my zip tie here so I can remove the rag. I'm going to go ahead and use this as a mounting location for the variable speed controller. Need to complete all the wiring and connections. There's a full-length video on that. It says how to wire a variable speed controller if you need some more help with that. Then we can go ahead and put the housings back on. Okay, I've reattached the hose onto the expansion tank, and I'm going to have to raise up the location of this expansion tank a little bit on this threaded coat hanger. So I'm using a spacer right here and a washer to do that. Now I can put the back on first, and then I can locate the expansion tank here. Now we're going to reattach the connection here and the hose back onto here. Now you can go ahead and reattach the plastic shroud. Now you can go ahead and replenish the fluids in your system. Also suggest you add a bottle of Flex-a-chill. This is going to help protect the aluminum in your system. It will also prevent calcium and magnesium from scaling up. Once I do that, I can go ahead and put the cap back on, reattach my battery so I can get the car started so it's at the operating temperature I want it to be at to dial in the variable speed control to operate the fan. Now it's important that you're going to need to purge the air out of your system. So to do that, once I bring it up to the operating temperature, I need to let it cool back down, refill it, make sure I've got all the air out of the system so that the fan and radiator can function properly. Then you're ready to roll.
Brought to you by JEGS. Lifetime support. Complete customer satisfaction. Delivering performance since 1960. JEGS.com.